would say Mother Teresa was as close as anything we've seen in our lifetime, in this generation. And you read through her diaries, and they have excerpts from her diaries, and she's talking about forsaking the faith and giving up on God because she's not good enough. She still has these thoughts. And she's like, what? You got to be kidding me. This is like, you know, the little Catholic version of Jesus walking around. I mean, this is unreal. Unbelievable that even in her solitude, in her quiet time, she would say, I'm not measuring up. But to us, she was so far ahead of us. Billy Graham has the greatest analogy about this I've ever heard in my life. Being a Christian is like driving on a country road at night. No matter how far you go and how far you get and how mature you get, there will always be somebody who shows up front. There's always somebody that's just a little bit farther down the road than you. And no matter who you think is in front, there's somebody farther down the road than them in terms of spiritual maturity and spiritual growth. Grace is radical, it's not fair, and it is painful. Jesus was crucified because he showed grace to all the wrong people. Anybody, everybody that he could find, he showed grace to. Everybody. Even the people who disagreed with him, he showed them grace. Because if he wanted to, he could have done like a miracle in reverse and like zap people, but he didn't. You know? He showed unbelievable grace. And he wasn't crucified for being a nice guy. He wasn't crucified because he was a political problem. It was because he did God all wrong. They had this idea of who God was. They had an idea of what God was like. And when Jesus showed up and said, hey, the kingdom of God is here, they were like, no, 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 no. That's not really God. And so what did Jesus do? He tells them a story. This is what the kingdom is like. Let me explain. And they all don't get it. And they expected God to look like and think like and act like. And when Jesus acted like something completely ungodly, that's why they crucified him, because he was a blasphemer. He claimed to be God. He claimed to be able to think like God and to speak for God. And he did, but they didn't get it because they had something completely something else in mind. I can remember when my daughter was born. This is back before technology was as good as it is now. We had ultrasounds, and we saw this little face, and there looked like a little spaceman, and big eyes, and there's nothing there, and when we did like everybody else, we walked like, this is her little toes, and this is her, we did all the same thing, except to us it was just black and white. It looked like an X-ray, okay, because it wasn't cool like they are now, right? When Tori came out, you're like, whoop, and I, hey, cool. I was a total stranger. That's not what I was expecting. She didn't look like I thought she would look. I'd known her for like 9 months. I would talk to her in the womb. She'd come over to me. I'd thump over here. She'd go over there. Anytime like in church like this, if I sang or spoke, she'd start kicking inside Sherry because she recognized my voice. But when I met her, it didn't look right. It wasn't what I was expecting. You ever had that thing where you see or hear somebody on the radio, and then you see him on TV and go, that's the dude's voice? No way. You ever have that happen? See, I'm not the only one. Same thing with the Hebrew people. They expected God to look like and think like and act like, and then walks this Jesus guy, and they're going, not what we had in mind. Sorry. You're not doing God the way we want you to do God. Okay? Jesus was not an impersonator. It wasn't a Vegas show. Jesus was really God. And they expected God to be different. They wanted a God of judgment and a God of wrath that was going to elevate the Hebrew people to being important again and taking over the government. And Jesus was going to set up his kingdom and be in charge. That's what they wanted. And instead they got a servant. Not the plan. Thank you very much. And the whole New Testament, the 4 books of the Gospels, is Jesus trying to say, I don't know how to tell you this, but you guys got this backwards. That's the whole story. Who you're looking for is not who really showed up. Guess what? You just missed the show. Circus just left town, pal, and you missed it. And you wonder about the book of Acts in chapter 2 when the Holy Spirit comes and all these people come to receive Christ. You know why? Because they saw it and they saw what happened and it dawned on them, oh my goodness, we just missed out. We just missed out. Rockstar Jesus really was God. Imagine the mentality of the people that must have gone from we love Him to just a few days later to we hate Him to a few weeks later, now we serve Him. That would be some confused teenagers in your house. As parents, to hear you love a guy, hate a guy, and now serve a guy? Something's crazy. What is it? It's a move of God upon people's hearts. And it's only because of grace that any of that is possible. But Jesus did God all wrong. He did it backwards. And that's what got Him in trouble. I need to tell you this, that coming to Jesus isn't going to end your troubles. Coming to Jesus is not going to solve all your problems. He's not going to pay your power bill by Tuesday. Okay, He's not going to make all your headaches go away. He's not going to make your children get off of drugs. He's not going to make all those problems that you have. That's not what's going to happen. Because Jesus isn't some kind of witch doctor. That's not what He is. Not a fairy tale. Coming to Jesus, what it's going to do is it's going to give you another source of strength, another source of inspiration, another source of options, and another way to live your life and to think about your circumstances. And if we could have heaven's perspective of what we're going through, it might change the way we behave today. Have you ever had that happen? You're going through something on a Sunday, and 6 months later you look back and go, oh, you know what? Now I understand. That happened? That's because we don't see heaven's perspective. But just because today your life's a mess, my life's a mess, and we come to Jesus, all our problems don't go away. That would be really cool. You could sell that on TV all day long, $29.99 a bottle. If you buy now, we'll send the second one free. Okay? Get that Billy Mays dude to advertise it. Jesus bills, hey! That guy. That guy's nuts. He's nuts. In fact, I'll tell you this. Coming to Jesus is going to cause you more trouble. It's going to cause you more problems. Because now you're going to have to live like He wants you to live, and that's hard. You're going to have to choose to serve people. You're going to have to choose to serve other people other than yourself. You're going to have to choose to be honest. You have to choose to do things differently at work. You're going to have to choose to stop hanging out with certain people, doing certain things. Because coming to Jesus, if you really mean it, it's going to mean that your life's going to have to change. So coming to Jesus doesn't solve your problems. It might cause you more problems. They're better problems, but it might cause you a whole different set of problems. Jesus is not the magic man. It'd be great if He was, but that's not the way He works. And maybe that's what we expect Him to be. And maybe we've got it all wrong. Have you experienced grace? And what I mean by that is if you come to a place in your life where you're so broken, where you know that you are a desperate human being in need of God's forgiveness, and that without His forgiveness, you are doomed to a life separated from God. Have you come to that place? Where you understand that no matter how good you are still a sinful human being who's in need of God's grace. No matter what church you grew up in, no matter what your mommy or daddy did, no matter what your grandmother taught you, you come to the place where you realize that you are just as sinful as the person sitting beside you. Because sin is sin. To miss the mark is to miss the mark. Doesn't matter how many sins you got in your bag, we're sinful. Have you come to the place where you've been able to say, I get it. I blew it. Because if you truly experience grace, you will be a person of grace. This is the part that just never worked for me. I believed I was sinful. I believed in Jesus. I had been forgiven for my sin. But it's this part about being gracious. This was the hard part for me. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't get it until I was about 40. But I was put in a position where I had no choice but to be absolutely humiliated, smashed, broken, calling out for grace, that I was able to begin a transformation in my life to become a person of grace. The way you know you've experienced grace is that you start treating people with grace. Because you realize, yeah, they're just like me. Different problem, different behavior, but they're just like me. See, that's what grace does. Grace turns the mirror from you back to make me look at myself. Grace isn't a magnifying glass where I go around looking for your sin. It's a mirror that points back at me. It says, don't be pointing any fingers. Dude, you can't even get past the mirror. Are you a person of grace? With the people in your house, with the people in your neighborhood, people at work, would they see you as a person of grace? Somebody who's tender and compassionate?